Hey guys, Scott Bryce from Proformance Motorsport in Australia. Just wanted to give you an update on our Predator V8 4x4 side-by-side buggy. A lot of questions about progress, when they can order, can they pre-order, are they flat pack, can you buy them turnkey, how do we ship them, etc. So we just want to run through some of those questions if we can and answer as much in one presentation. Okay, so first of all, just to recap on the vehicle itself, it's a V8. You can put a V6 or 4-cylinder if you want, but typically a V8. It's a fully race legal chassis, and it has 30 inches of travel and no rubber belts. So it's a proper purpose-built race car as a fun car, sound car, race car. It is mid-engine, so the engine's in the back, independent front, independent rear suspension, very much like the Polaris, the Can-Am, etc. Everyone puts the engine in the back, Ferraris, Lamborghinis. Mid-engines is the best for weight distribution, center of gravity, etc., etc. So, and we can have a manual or an auto. There is a little video here which I've put on the screen. I won't play the video directly. And on the chassis itself, so we have Best in Desert, Score, FIA-CAMS, race legal chassis. So there's a couple of changes made for each of those disciplines. So depending which discipline you want to race in, we have a slightly different chassis design. It's really around the pillars in the roll cage as to the slight differences. FIA, for example, don't have the shoulder to hip bars. This is really what we consider to be the ultimate 4x4 side-by-side. There's a lot of vehicles on the market, and there's a new vehicle coming out recently. A lot of people have pre-ordered those. But this is a true high-performance sand dune, desert racing type vehicle. It's not a UTV made by a UTV company. It doesn't have a 1-litre motor. It doesn't have rubber belts. And if you want to build a proper race side-by-side or a race 4x4 vehicle, you don't need to buy a donor side-by-side, drag out the diffs and the gearbox and throw the rest in the bin and then get someone to make your space frame chassis. This is a complete race ready vehicle and you buy it in a kit form. We have 30 inches of wheel travel at the front and 30 inches at the rear. It's only something you can achieve by having CV joints inside the hubs and CV joints inside the diffs and 45-degree CV angles and things like that. I mean, we've done a lot of work to develop very, very special components to allow us to do this. This is actual wheel travel, not usable wheel travel, not like Polaris and others are doing where they're fictitiously creating wheel travel that doesn't exist. This is how much wheel travel we have. How much of it you use is really up to you guys, but that's how much wheel travel we have front and back. Now we have lots of different motor options, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder V8s. You know, we can have a Ford, we can have Chev, we can have manual, we can have an auto. We have 6 and 8 speeds, we have paddle shifts, we have sequential shifts, we have all sorts of different options. And that really goes to the customer's budget. We can have a customer buy a $500 Junker LS and a second-hand 6-speed gearbox, and there's your $1,000 for motor and gearbox. And then we have customers who want to go with SADAV and Hollingers and 6-speed sequentials and $30,000 race engines. So it's really a case of we can cater for nearly every engine and gearbox combination you could imagine. And all you need to do is to put in your engine mounts, and we have adapters for about 8 different transmissions available to connect our transfer case to all those different transmissions. And there's an example of the transfer case connected to a SADAV. So SADAV is very common in FIA, Dakar, Rallycross, Rally Raid, all the European type circuits. And then we also have Hollingers that are made in Australia. And then you have your standard Chev gearboxes, the 8L90 8-speed, the 6L90 6-speed. So we have the adapters, and in the little gold section there's the adapter. So our transfer case is universal to fit to lots and lots of different gearboxes. Low cost gearboxes right up to professional race gearboxes. Some of these race gearboxes are around 20 to 30,000 US dollars. So pretty high tech stuff. But again, if you want to build a low cost buggy, you can go and get one from a wrecking yard for 500 US dollars and put in an auto. Of course, we talked about wheel travel. How do we get that much wheel travel out of these cars? How are we doing it? What's special? What have we done? Well, there's the magic, guys. The magic is in our differentials and our hubs. Our ultra narrow diffs have massive 6-inch bearings. They've got internal CV joints. Having the CV joints right inside means the axles can pretty much touch each other. Gives us longer axles, more wheel travel, more droop, more ground clearance. No one else can do what we can do because they're not making diffs the way we're making them. Huge advantage. much stronger drivetrain. And of course, the CVs in our diff are much bigger than a standard OEM CV joint. I'll give you an example of the amount of angle we're getting out of our CVs. One, the axles are much longer, but we also have a lot more angle than a 930 CV or a 934. What everyone else is running in the Class 10 buggies and Class 1 buggies, we have a lot more angle, a lot more plunge, and a lot more longer axle. The same at the hubs. So we've been building our differentials for nearly 15 years with the CV joints right up inside the diff. It makes a much longer axle, gives you all that wheel travel, and makes everything pretty awesome. We've done the same at the hubs now. So we've put the same massive big 6-inch bearings out near the wheels. We've put the CV joint right up inside the wheel, pretty much up against the back of the disc brake, which gives you a longer axle and more travel. And again, we've got massive CV joints. These CV joints are 300% stronger than a typical Polaris or a Can-Am joint. They are absolutely massive, 30 spline axles. Now, another thing we've done is we've tried to keep the spares of the flat pack right down to a minimum amount of spares. One hub fits all 4 corners of the car, left, right, front, and back. You only need to carry one spare part to replace the entire hub on this vehicle. Brakes, rotors, hubs, etc. are all the same. Now, it's important to also realize our hubs are fully waterproof. They're completely submersible. I'll explain in a second about the tire inflation, but the reason it has to be fully submersible, it has to be airproof. If it can hold air in, it can hold water out. Massive 290mm rotor, so it's just under 12-inch, and an aluminium case. Of course, we have tire inflation and deflation built into this vehicle. Because we've developed everything from scratch by hand, we knew we wanted to have tire inflation and deflation built in, so we developed everything from scratch without using one car component. No Polaris components, no Can-Am, no car, no Chev. It is completely handmade by us, so we can do anything we want. We made the CV joint, we made the hubs, we made everything, and we have air lines and fittings running all through those components, so the airline runs out of the vehicle. Now, I'll see if I can get my mouse up here. So the airline runs out here, down out to the wheel, and spins around. So it's completely sealed up to 50 psi of air pressure, and you can inflate your tires while you're driving along. You just press the inflate button, tells you how much pressure is on the dash, and you press the deflate button. If you want to get fancy, you can run that through your Motec ECU, and you can control your tire pressures. If the tire starts to go down, it turns the compressor on, so you don't end up racing with a flat tire. Very advanced stuff. Some of our customers will use a small scuba tank bottle. It's a personal bottle. They're about 12 inches long, very small, or a soda stream bottle, or they might have a small onboard compressor. There's a lot of different ways to pump them up. It's always the same way to pump them down, either a valve or a little solenoid to deflate. You can deflate the set of 35-inch tires from 25 psi to 10 psi in about 30 seconds, and about 2 minutes to pump them back up from 10 to 25 psi. It's very rapid and very fast and efficient. Everything on the vehicle is chrome MOLY double shear HEIM joints. We're using FK rod ends. They're a chrome MOLY joint. They've got Teflon liners, high tensile bolts. These things are massive. And it's the same joint on every point of the vehicle. The inner arm, the outer arm, the steering joints, everything is exactly the same. And again, one HEIM joint is used all the way around the car, front, back, left, right, and the steering, to minimize the amount of spares that you need to carry in your trailer and when you're racing. You break a HEIM joint in the field, you can change it because it's always got the one joint on the car. We have a billet steering rack, again, custom made for us. Most of the steering racks you can buy on the market don't work for four-wheel drives because the input shaft of the rack is exactly where the diff is. So we've actually changed that. So we have a rack that's got an idler gear built into here. That allows us to lift the actual input shaft much higher than the diff, and everything clears the differential. So again, we've made exactly what we need for this vehicle as opposed to just buying things off the shelf. We haven't bought what everyone else uses, we've made our own. All of our products are engineered for racing. They haven't come off a lawnmower or some golf buggy or a go-kart or something. If you look very closely at a lot of the UTV stuff, you might find some heritage and some background where these parts started off on lawnmowers and ride-on mowers and farming vehicles. The cases of aluminium, the size of the gears, the size of the bearings, they were never designed for motorsport. They're designed for driving around on a beach or on some sand dunes or out with your family fishing. They were never designed for racing. Our 4x4 buggy kits have been designed for racing, whether it be the Baja or a Score Desert, Vegas to Reno, or just playing in the dunes on the weekend. We have designed these as race cars. They are not mum and dad vehicles. You can go down to Polaris and Can and buy them. They are a race car, and they're made of race car components. An example of that is there's a side-by-side CV on the left, and there's our CV on the right. We've got much bigger components, much stronger everything, and they're not going to break like the OEM ones. Everything's made of 6061 heat-treated T6 conditioned billet aluminium, all machined in-house. All of our internal components are heat-treated chrome moly, whether they're case-hardened or through-hardened or whatever. There's a lot of technology involved in all of our internal components. There's some vehicle dimensions there, so people can look at them, but basically we're talking around a 120-inch wheelbase, and the vehicle's about 86-inch track tyre to tyre, running a 35-inch by 15 wheel, and the wheels have got the air inflation system built into them. There's some pricing, and we've got a ton of people asking us about pricing. These guys, there it is, guys. There's the breakdown of one of our typical kits. So from there, you need a motor, a gearbox, a fuel tank, a couple of seats, you need a radiator, and you need a couple of oil pumps to put some oil around the car, some safety harnesses or seat belts, depending on what you call them in your country, and of course some wiring and ECU and some lights, etc. But that's the main breakdown of the components. So we have the front diff, the rear diff, a transfer case, a steering box hubs. There's all the parts that we make, and they're all CNC machined specifically for this car. The chassis tubes and the chassis bulkheads, they're all laser cut tubes and laser cut plates, and they come on a flat pack, and you just weld them all together. And then all the aluminium panels are actually pre-cut for you, pre-laser cut, so they just bolt onto the side of the car. I will include the price of the fiberglass bodies once we release the fiberglass bodies, etc. How do we ship these things around the world? So, good question. We have actually appointed some American resellers and distributors. We have a service agent for our differentials in Anaheim, California now, and that allows people to actually send their differentials to those guys for servicing and inspections to make sure that they're ready for the next race. But we can ship a complete kit. That's a chassis, diffs, hubs, steering boxes, the whole lot from the US now. So that the components will be shipped in the warehoused in the US, and then the flat pack chassis is actually manufactured in the US. So we're not going to make them in Australia, send them all the way to America, and you have to pay for shipping costs, etc. If you buy a flat pack kit, you'll be paying for it, and it'll be shipped directly from the US, and it'll be made of USA steel. Quite often, a lot of the roll cages and chassis built in Australia are actually built from imported steel that came from America. It's completely ridiculous for an Australian company to bring steel in from America, cut it up into bits, and then ship it all the way back to America. We're trying to keep the cost of these kits down, so that means that our customers can buy the flat pack kit, all the pipes, all the tubes, all the flat sheets, all pre-laser cut in America, shipped in America, straight to your door. If you're looking at this from another country other than the US, we will ship all of the chassis, the diffs, the hubs in a flat pack from Australia anywhere you want in the world. But if you are a USA customer, rest assured you're going to get a very low cost component, because we don't need to ship it all from Australia. It'll all be shipped from the US, manufactured in the US and shipped from the US. All of our technology's been proven over like 30 years of motorsport. We've built tons of stuff. Not all of it worked first time. A lot of stuff was broken. Anyone that builds unique vehicles goes through a lot of testing and development, and that's what motorsport's all about, is trying to develop something as light as possible that goes really fast, that doesn't break. So 35 years of breaking lots of stuff. We've got a pretty good handle on what works and what doesn't work, where to put the diff vents, how to stop the oil frothing, how to stop the pinion bearings getting hot. We've got 20 years of racing all this stuff, and we've put all of that engineering into this new car. So you guys get to rest on 20 years of motorsport racing and us breaking things. Now you can rest assured that this stuff is the highest level it can possibly be. There's a whole pile of links on this presentation, so I will put this presentation up live on our Facebook page in a PDF format if we can get it up in a PDF, and then you can go and view all these videos and look at all the links and actually and look at them yourself. Something important, please have a look at this one here, the warning counterfeit Chinese safety harnesses. The Chinese are copying safety harnesses. Very, very dangerous. It is lethal. Please have a look at that video. It's about 2 minutes long, and it shows what not to buy and how to try and see the difference between a genuine safety harness and a Chinese copy. One of those harnesses will kill people. They will kill your family, they'll kill your wife or your children. You do not want to end up with something that's a copy of a genuine product. So please have a look at that. If you want some more content information, I'll leave this up a little bit while I talk here. So you can contact myself directly as the director of the company. We've got email, website, we've got Skype. We're also doing Zoom video calls now, so we can actually talk to customers. We can walk through the vehicle. We can show you a tour of the workshop, and we can also show you CAD designs, etc., directly on our computer. So if you'd like to look at some of the models or have a detailed talk about what the body panels were going to look like or a custom build, we can do that via Zoom. So guys, thank you very much for your time. I hope this answered a lot of questions for people, and we're going to start the build on our hubs and the bulkheads very shortly. Thanks guys.